New us, right? New year, new me. That's what we all want to fucking say, all right? But how can you get there from here? How are you feeling? Let's do an assessment. This is where divine feminine embodiment starts. It's an internal check-in. How's your head? How's your neck? How's your throat? How's your sinuses? Everything going on up in here. Is your mind clear? Is it cluttered? How's your shoulders? Are they up in your neck? And so on. This is how we keep going. Talk to your traps. Talk to your pecs. Talk to your boobs. Talk to your heart. Talk to all of your organs as you go down. What is your body telling you? This is the first step to embodiment. It is chilly in this car. I did not run the heat before I sat in it. I just started recording. But I have a hot drink. Raw cacao. I drink this every day. Raw cacao with some type of either bone broth or gelatin. Today it's gelatin. A couple sprinkles of cayenne pepper. A little bit of pumpkin spice seasoning just because I like the variety of spices in there and I want to cover it all. Cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, etc. You get the point. It's all really good for your body. So I just like hitting it all at once. It's not even about the pumpkin spice profile. I don't even put enough in there for it to taste like it. It's just chocolatey. So anyway, we've done our body scan. One of the things that really struck me in contrast from when I was looking at my mother's version of femininity. I'm still sick, by the way. Sorry about my stuffy sounds. Femininity, right? My mother was my first example. My grandmother was another first example. These women would always minimize what it took to be a woman. My grandmother would have all of her dresses tailored to 2 inches below the knee. So that all of her dresses were the same length because that was my grandfather's preference for length. Well, hello, love son. I see you. Hello. Good morning. Happy New Year. So we're talking about divine feminine embodiment and habits. Their habits that I got to watch were frustration and crying cycles. In between that, my mother and my grandmother would call each other, pick each other apart, and wonder why their relationship wasn't good. You know, my grandma would tell my mom she was too fat, and my mom would tell my grandma she was too nosy. And there was just always this tension, right? But personally, what did they do for themselves? They were always externally trying to change people around them or arrange events, environments. But when it comes right down to it, well, hello. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Very, very nice of you. Oh, well, I did say hi. I said hello, everybody. It's nice to have you. Happy New Year, Divine Feminine Embodiment. So I always talk about my experiences because I personally don't like it when women my age start talking like this about how you need to live. No, I'm telling you about my experiences. Okay, whatever. I have an Instagram. It's Sui Generous Regenerate, and you're welcome to go follow me there. So, habits. The very, very baby steps that we use every single day, moving around as a woman, breathing into what that means. A lot of times we make ourselves smaller because we're taking care of everybody else. All of our interest is outward focused. I never saw them pampering themselves. I saw them craving pampering from other people. People will be mean. It's YouTube, and I don't give a fuck. I appreciate your support, though. It's okay. People are just shit posters. I come from a time, I'm not 40 yet, but I'm getting close. And I remember what it was like in the early 2000s shit posting, and that energy is still alive. It's still alive. And you know what? I like to shit post too. I'm just not mean about it. So, whatever. Habits. This is my point. Like, how do you check in every day? We did a body scan at the beginning of this broadcast. The outward focus was what was drowning my mother and my grandmother. I never saw them slowing down, making their environment more beautiful for fun. Maybe my grandmother a little bit, but her type of focus wasn't luxurious. She was a Scorpio Sun Libra Moon, and she needed a lot more luxury. She was so devoted to being a career nurse and education, and her mind was so big, and she never softened up. She was always... how long have I been streaming? I just started 6 minutes ago. But in long term, like, I've been doing this, making content for much longer. Since, I want to say, regularly since 2018. I technically started with a blog in 2016. I've been tarot reader, minister for since 2018, professionally as a tarot reader. Minister for about 5-6 years now, and I take it very seriously. So I sit here and I make content every day. I'm Katie. Whether or not people are being shitty or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show up every single day. I show up on Instagram. I show up here. Sui generis regenerate on all my fucking social medias, by the way. I keep getting off the point. Habits. I rarely saw them pouring into themselves the same energy that they output. And what does it look like to be able to do it all? To be a career woman, to be a mother, to be a wife, and still carve out time and space for yourself. What does it look like? Well, it looks different for everybody, but really, the basics could be covered as making sure your diet is healthy, making sure that you're sleeping enough, making sure that your nervous system isn't bleeding out energy, your nervous system is resetting, making sure you're regulated within yourself so you may co-regulate with other people then outside of yourself. These women, my grandmother, was coming up through the Depression. My mother was a boomer, and none of these generations were taught rituals of softness the way we know through TikTok or, just generally on the internet today. Everybody has a skincare routine. This is a really good example of how habits can give you that feminine balance. I talk about feminine balance the most because I'm the one living through this, where I'm trying to regain my feminine balance after living and being taught to be a boy. Like yeah, sure, auntie. I love that. Auntie vibes. Give me more of that. I want to be helpful. So if an auntie is helpful, fuck yeah. So I don't have kids of my own. I do cultivate a daily practice for my own femininity. I've been saying this over and over again, but I'll say it again because I have new people in the chat. When I was 8.5, my dad left on Valentine's Day. Well, actually, it was more like a month before my birthday. I was really close to being 9 years old. He left on Valentine's Day. And after that, my mother told me I was the man of the house. I was the youngest child. And so, as a woman, having I lived next door to my grandfather, but my father figure up and left. then I was made to step into that as the youngest daughter, and felt made to feel bad if I was trying to act any sort of soft or kind or tender to myself. I wasn't really allowed to play. I was always given work to do, and if that wasn't done, I was in trouble, and I was always in trouble because I was always seeking balance and trying to find a way to glue these parts of me together. And as an adult, why am I saying what? I'm telling you the truth. So, we all have our own walks of life and our own expressions of these two energies inside of us. My body is feminine. I I I fully identify as a woman, born this way, but I was taught to that it was unacceptable to express that. So I had to be tough. I had to, you know, avoid wearing dresses. I had to um literally be nasty in a way. Like, my mother would not support me with any sort of kindness or love if I was being feminine. My sister was allowed to be feminine, but I was not. So as I grow into adulthood, as I went through my Saturn return, all these things started flooding back to me. I got divorced from my ex-husband, and in that relationship, there was a lot of sexual assault. The I was taught never to say no to men. So I was a doormat personality. I was a people pleaser, and these are all habits that we build upon day to day to day. And that's why I'm sitting here talking. Women identifying people who want to hold the feminine energy, tend to be overgivers. They feel guilty if they try to put themselves first in a day. They feel guilty if they try to take time to put on makeup when they're on the way out the door because everybody else is waiting for them. Or maybe they don't feel like they have time to do these things. You create time as you go. You have to prioritize. A priority is different from having the time. You create the time to do things that matter to you. You, as somebody trying to reclaim your femininity, have to prioritize yourself. And that's going to feel guilty at first. You're going to have a hard time when you're first starting out trying to balance your energies out of the masculine. You can't perform your way into being more feminine. Being feminine is about beingness. It's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a paradox. It is an energy. It is the space between breaths. It is a container. We literally hold babies in our body. We create them and hold them in our bodies. Our bodies take building blocks from our own systems and put them in the baby. Our antibodies, our cellular memory, our everything. All these things coincide with being a female. We are a gift. And we don't appreciate our value. Women, the divine feminine is the most resourceful, wise energy. This is who you go to when you have any sort of can't see yourself, you're feeling lost. You want somebody that's in touch with their softness. You want somebody that can be empathetic with you while maintaining their own energy. Nothing feels worse than going to somebody that wasn't well prepared, like my mother and my grandmother, trying to get your support from them, and they're sitting there telling you, well, it could be worse, this and this happened to me. Well, what did you do to stop it? Nothing. I just gaslit myself and kept going, basically, was the end of the story. So it's very complicated, right? The little things in a relationship matter the most to a woman. And it's very confusing to a lot of men because they don't understand the foundations of this. A lot of times people, when they're first starting to date, they're engaging with the masculine. The masculine puts out the little things forward, and then once you're with this person, you're in a relationship or you're married, or you start taking things, little baby things, for granted, and you start performing the big things. That makes you feel less special. That makes you feel less acknowledged. It makes you feel less playful. It makes you feel more serious. It makes you feel like this is a business transaction. If you quit dating in a relationship, you essentially kill the fuel that brought you there into the relationship in the first place. And it works very much the same internally. You change every single fucking day that you exist. And if you're not sitting there paying attention to your needs, to your mood cycles, to your period, and giving yourself that feeling of attention, that feeling of dating yourself, that feeling of doing little things to make yourself feel special. And I'm not talking about eating fancy little treats, going to Starbucks, going to Dutch Brothers with a bunch of sugar. I'm not talking about fancy little treats that wind up being harmful down the road. I'm talking about really genuinely treating your body with respect. I'm talking about working out in a way that doesn't spike your cortisol. I'm talking about feeding your body with truly nutritious food. Taking the time. Okay, this is one of the ways that I know as a woman that I struggle with. Sometimes I don't like cooking for just myself. I would cook a full course meal, several courses, lots of different like features to a meal, right? A big dinner for somebody else, as long as there was 2 people or more. But when it comes to feeding myself on a regular, it's a lot easier to do quick meals. Now, I've cultivated a habit of preparing myself pre-made food, like meal preps that go and support my goals. And in order to make myself attracted to eating these, I go the extra mile and pretend as if I was cooking for my family, somebody that I love, and make it extra special so that every time I open up one of those meal preps, it has that little essence of love in it. That those little steps, those little baby steps, those consistencies. You have to show up every day for your feminine energy if you're going to get it to trust you. And you have to cultivate a trust from the inside first, before your energy, your feminine energy, is going to start playing back with you, because women don't fuck around. We will sense it, that, what's the word I'm looking for? Any inconsistencies, anything that feels false, anything that feels performative or fake. We're going to feel that out, and we're going to know we're in the middle of a manipulation situation. You're just doing this so you can get this out of me. Women know. Women fucking know. You have to turn that inward and be with yourself every fucking minute, with your mindset, with your habits, like I said. It's a constant state of maintenance when you're in the middle of trying to balance your energies. Allowing yourself to sit still not necessarily to watch Netflix, not necessarily to sit there and make a post or be on your phone or create content. I'm talking about just being present with yourself during the day. Shutting out everything that doesn't resonate with you, feeling your own baseline, and asking yourself, as if you were your own lover, what can I do for you today? What is it that you need the most? And how can I give that to you, babe? I love you. You're safe with me. That is one of the building blocks, super fucking important building blocks to cultivating a strong divine feminine energy. Once we're able to trust ourselves first, then it doesn't really matter how other people reflect your energy back to you during the day. We all want to be treated special. We all want to be number one. We all want to be unique. We want to be we want to be the first person that the one we love thinks about in the morning and the last person that they think about at night. And if you're filling your whole day up with thoughts about things you're doing wrong, about how big and fat your ass is, about the things you're not doing correctly, any sort of criticisms, my hair isn't perfect, whatever you can invent. If you're spending time being habitually nasty to yourself, you can't turn around and be soft and feminine and comfortable and safe with yourself first. You can't expect somebody else to meet you where you haven't met yourself yet. I mean, you can, but it just doesn't work that way. The kindness always has to start with number one. So run through your morning. You get up, you go to the bathroom, take a shower. Are you getting out of bed and immediately checking your phone, thinking about replies, thinking about all the shit that you didn't do yesterday that you need to catch up to? How's your day starting? That's where you really, really get your foundation, is habitually creating moments in the morning for you to come up for air. Because if you don't do it first, you're not going to do it at the end of the day. Your day's going to get away from you and you're going to fall in bed exhausted. So you're going to have to meet yourself every morning as if you were your own best lover. And it's not that hard. It just sounds like a chore to begin with, because it's so much easier getting energy from the outside in, it feels like. But can you really receive it if you do? Not really. Not really. How often do you get showered with compliments from people from the outside? And you're like, you're just saying that because you love me. You're just saying that because blah, blah, blah. You want this and such for me. It's an exchange. You automatically feel like you're batting it away. You can't receive it. Divine feminine energy is about being able to receive. People might be offering to do things for you, something small that you can accomplish yourself. And you tell them no. Why? Because I'm an independent woman and I'm fully capable of handling it. Yes, you are. But what if you just start letting people take things off your plate? What if you start delegating instead of micromanaging? And if you delegate something and somebody doesn't help you with it, you don't pick it up and do it yourself at that point. You remind them to handle it, even though you're fully capable of doing it. You just stay on reminding them instead of just be like, hey, Would it now be a good time for you to handle this thing? Would now be a good time for you to handle it? Instead of, you didn't do this yesterday and I needed you to do it yesterday. Why didn't you do it yesterday? Can you please fucking do it now? If you don't do it now, you're a piece of shit. Like, our energy has to change from within in order to have new conversations without. We won't believe people are being sincere with us if we're not being sincere with ourselves first. The sincerity starts with habits. Are you checking in? Are you writing journals? At least once a month. Are you journaling about your internal thoughts, what you care about? Are you bringing out your dreams and staring at them and saying, you know what? I've crossed some things off my list last month, but I didn't cross anything off my list this month. And it's starting to eat away at the back of my mind. I need to cultivate a sense of trust with myself this month and do better. And this is how I'm going to do it. But you have to create low-hanging fruit and actually take the baby steps to do it. I always say baby steps are still steps. Everybody's version of femininity is going to look different. But mine looks like allowing myself to take the mental pressure off. I'm a Gemini moon. I spend a lot of energy trying to fix things in my mind first. Trying to categorize my emotions. Trying to make sure that I have the right vocabulary to express myself. But sometimes just allowing myself to feel is revolutionary. It's hard to just allow. I've been getting through a cold. I've had like a little like throat, nose thing over the new year. And I've been really thinking about how often we have to get stopped in our tracks before we start paying attention to our body's signals that are coming through. Why do we do that to ourselves? That's something my mom and grandma did constantly, was ignore their own internal notifications of, anxiety, unhappiness, feeling left out, not feeling like you're getting enough attention or acknowledgement, and they would make that everybody else's problem. That is not how I want to live in 2025. I'm trying to live abundantly. I'm trying to be attractive to the right kind of energy that I'm putting out. And it has to be honest. It can't be fake, because you'll sense that and realize you're lying to yourself, and you won't accomplish the things that you're really trying to set out to do. Your kids are going to feel it if it's a lie, if you're not truly taking care of yourself, if you're not truly putting yourself first, if you're not dating yourself regularly, if you're not putting in the energy, they're going to know. And they're going to repeat the habits that you're putting out. If I didn't stop myself from inhabiting the same feminine energy that I grew up seeing, if I didn't reprogram my brain, the best way that I would be handling my emotions is to take pharmaceutical medication, to pop a Xanax every time an emotion that I didn't like popped up. To take a muscle relaxant every time that I felt some tension, instead of addressing the root cause. This is not the way to live. 2025 is too precious of a time. Too many things going on, too many astrological transits going on to not be real with ourselves, and real with ourselves first before the rest of the community. We just had the North Node moving through Aries. It's about to go into Pisces. We have no control over Pisces energy. We've had Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, and these are about to go into Aries as well. This is the individual. Then we have Pluto in Aquarius. Individualization of revolutionary energy, how you fit in society, how your community reacts to you. And people fucking know if you're riding on your own team or not. People can tell if you're your own best ally, if you're advocating for yourself, or if you're just performative doing it. If you're like sitting with yourself and only saying, oh, I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to change my diet. I'm trying. Trying is an energy of defeat in and of itself. You're either working on it or you're not. Do or do not, there is no try. People know if you're being real with yourself or not. And they will always push you and your boundaries as far as they possibly can. This is why you can't outsource. You can't outsource your feminine energy. You can't get that recharge from outside if you want to be the strongest version of yourself and the softest and the most honest and the most vulnerable and the most intimate version of yourself. If you want to be swept off your feet, if you want somebody that answers your needs, you have to be able to receive. Giving is great. I love to give. But you have to learn how to say thank you and be gracious. It's difficult. Because what if you have trust issues? That's how you fix your trust issues, is you get on your own best, like, become your own best ally. You show up with yourself every single day. Sometimes you have to perform masculine tasks. Like, one of the things that I have to do that I really hate doing, is taking out the trash. I live with my father. And I feel like that's a masculine task. It makes me feel, I don't like it. It makes me feel slightly resentful every time I have to do that. But we have to deal with these things in life. And the way you frame these tasks in your brain before and after, just because it's a masculine type task in my mind, does not make me step into my masculine energy to perform this thing. I'm still learning how to ask for things, how the right keywords to ask for things instead of micromanaging everything myself. That is one of my biggest things that I'm working on in 2025, is how to delegate and stay firm on that instead of be pushed around and then winding up outputting more energy than what I receive. Not filling in the blank space, not chasing a response. I just left a job because I couldn't communicate with anybody. They literally took me off the group chat. And nobody would respond to anything that I had for input. Sometimes it looks like that. If you're to the point that you can't behave in your feminine energy on a daily basis, there's changes you need to make. And it's a grind. It's a grind. Every day, wake up, assess, go through your body, go through your organs, like I did at the beginning of this. How's my brain feeling? How's the tension in between my eyebrows? How's, the tension in my neck? And where's it coming from? Why is it there? Lower back tension is often feeling like you're doing more than you should have to do, feeling alone in doing all the tasks, and people aren't meeting you in the middle. Your body is intelligent. It will tell you more than I can sit here and tell you, period. But if you're trying to balance your energies, you have to start there. And it's a constant state of maintenance. Every day we have several different choices to make here, and they're divergent. But if you always make decisions based on, is this what somebody who loves themselves would do? I got this from Teal Swan, and it is profound. She tells people to make decisions based on if you love yourself, or if this is something that somebody who loves themselves would do, for a whole entire year. A whole fucking year. And I did that, and I've never stepped out of that. It's difficult. It is the most difficult challenge to be your own lover. And I'm not talking about being so hyper independent that you can't let anybody in, because there's a give and take. I'm actually advocating to learn how to communicate what your needs are and be able to convey them without having a sense of urgency behind them, that if you don't do this, my feelings will be hurt. I'm taking it personally. You know, there's no threat behind this request. It's just simple. And will you please do this? Will you, in fact, I'm going to remind you if it's not done. I would really love this to be done. I get a lot of my thoughts on this right now from Dr. John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He's so helpful when it comes to learning how to communicate in a way that is beneficial to the masculine hormones and the feminine hormones. We need to speak to our biology the best we possibly can. And you absolutely can control your reactions this way and your output this way. But it really is a daily grind. When we're talking about resolutions, a lot of these resolutions that we come up with every year are under the umbrella of, am I going to love this part of myself this year or not? Am I going to actually do those things that are on the back of my mind that I know I've needed to do? Or am I going to skirt on that? A lot of these things that we dive into for crutches, for comfort, for coping, all these mechanisms that we have are harmful to our energy, whether we're masculine or feminine. They are drowning our senses out. And I do not want to advocate for that. In fact, I'm advocating for presence. Got like a hair on my tongue. Getting present with yourself. Really, really understanding what it is that's motivating you, why you're feeling the need. Okay, for me, I've pretty much, except for maybe one day a week, I've quit caffeine. That was something important to me because I have hormonal issues and I want to be resetting my nervous system as much as possible. And that was a big deal. It's a big deal to quit caffeine. That's a habit. But the output of what's happening is tension. And while we need some tension in our lives to get any kind of balance, we also need to not be digging the sand out from under our feet as we're trying to reformat. And for me, caffeine was doing that. It was something I relied on every day to get me through tasks, doing things for other people that I truly didn't enjoy. As soon as something came up that I had an obligation to do, I would tank up on caffeine. I was drinking like 600 milligrams plus a day because I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't checking in with my body. Is this something somebody who loves themselves would do? I still have to work on this. And when it came right down to it, that job that I left absolutely did not represent self-love. I was overperforming and getting under-recognized. And if you're finding yourself overperforming and getting under-recognized, nobody else can fix that but you. So, I think I can let this... I've been talking for 40 fucking minutes. This new year, let it be your habitual question. Is this something somebody who loves themselves would do? Like, am I agreeing? Am I signing up to something that's depleting my energy? Then we can get into the things like skincare and massages and hair and bubble baths with a clear conscience and a full appreciation for being, for presence, for being able to slow down without having to go a mile a minute in our minds. If we've made a series of decisions based on self-love throughout the day that do not undermine our own energy with a substance, a person, scrolling on the internet, imagine how far we're going to get into our relaxation state when we're finally allowed to be there. How many times have you gone on vacation and needed a vacation from your vacation? It's just like that every time you try to sit still and you're a classically busy person. You can never truly relax, never truly be, never truly enjoy yourself. And that's what I remember about the women in my family, is they were always on E. They were always looking for comfort from a pill bottle, a man, God. If you felt desolate and all you could do was pray about it, I mean, they took a lot of naps because they were waiting for God to take care of them, when they could have been taking baby steps to take care of themselves. My mother, her personal habits were so bad that she wouldn't even brush her teeth. She wouldn't take care of her body. She would just sleep all the time. She wouldn't get out in the sunshine and get the vitamin D and serotonin. She wouldn't do that. She was an artist. She could sew a whole wardrobe of clothing, and she would never let herself get into the arts and the crafts and things that truly lit her on fire, because she was so busy getting locked in with this concept of femininity that wasn't divine. It was just divine. It was just feminine slavery, really. The more I've embodied this divine feminine energy, I've become so put off by people who don't gas themselves up, who self-deprecate, who make little pot shots at themselves as a joke. That's not how we live, and that's not how we move here. It's a heartbreak to watch a beautiful person reduce themselves just to not divine energy. I'm not being the most articulate that I've ever been. I'm still sick, so I apologize. And if somebody's been sitting here through this whole thing, I appreciate you. I think you understand where I'm getting at. Every single day, the things you do for yourself first in the morning, the body scans that you do, making sure you make decisions based on self-love. It's a radical fucking move. And people will get pissed off. If they're enjoying you in your depleted state, they don't want to see you figure it out. You got to recognize that. Some people really, really don't want you to improve. And sometimes that person is you. You're too afraid to see what it would be like to rest in your energy, in your fullness. It's 2025. Is that what you want going into this year? Really? I love you guys. Anybody that stopped in chat, I want to say thank you. I'm not entirely sure what that last question was about. Somebody asked me, why are you saying that? And I don't really know what were they asking. But feminine habits start with self-love, and that's a radical movement. It's a habit of self-love. And, we talk about self-love and it's so cliche, but really, when you realize that most of the things that you do as coping mechanisms, escape, whatever it is, your entertainment, all these things, if you realize that how unhealthy they are for you and you stop dealing with it, processed food, alcohol, whatever your fucking thing is, whatever you run to when you're trying to force yourself into a lifestyle that doesn't fit you, this is when your divine femininity really, really, really blooms. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to see your own fullness? Anyway, I love you guys. Be well. Take care of your bodies. Take care of your spirit.